In the aftermath of the bloodletting called the Civil War, thousands of rootless, restless, searching men traveled west. Such a man is William Colton. Like the others, he carried a blanket roll, a proficient gun, and a dedication to a new chapter in American history, the opening of the West.
Hello. My name's Colton. A fellow named Nichols in town told me that you were looking for a hand here.
You know anything about running a farm, Mr. Colton?
Yeah, sure. I've worked farms before. Matter of fact, when I was just a kid, I used to spend summers in...
I'm not interested in your personal history. I simply asked what you knew about farm work.
Day's pretty short, Mrs. Phelps, is it? Don't allow much leeway, huh?
The days are always pretty short, Mr. Colton, and there's no need for leeway. How hungry are you? That's one question. How dependable? That's another.
Well, reasonably hungry, that's one answer. Very dependable, that's another.
Pays $20 a month. Works hard. You do as you're told as long as you're told. 6 days and 6 nights a week, you stay sober. My room has a lock on it. Those are the terms, Mr. Colton.
Well, I take it you've had hired hands here before, huh?
A succession. Itinerant drunks take more liberties than they give hours of work.
Mrs. Phelps, you know, not every stranger who rides into your front yard is an itinerant drunk. And I doubt if all of them are preoccupied with laying seeds to your sleeping quarters. I'll bid you good day, Mrs. Phelps.
Wait. Wait a minute. You think I'm a hard woman, don't you?
A suspicious one.
Look around, if you will, Mr. Colton. You see that long, tree-lined avenue leading to a sweeping veranda? And this gorgeous porticoed house with the stately pillars. And these acres and acres of rich grain-laden fields tended by 50 happy hands. That's what I was promised. That's what he was to build. And now, I'd like you to meet the Lord of the matter. I'd like to introduce you to my husband, late of the Union Army, who asked me to meet him here. Come, Mr. Colton. Here he is. Colonel Phelps. My dashing, self-reliant husband. A mighty oak of a man who could be depended on and leaned upon. Mr. Colton, meet Colonel Phelps. Don't worry. He doesn't understand anything that's said to him. He will open his mouth to be fed. And on occasion, after a particularly hearty meal, he will suffer himself to be led across the room. You can insult him, berate him, even slap his face. He won't respond.
How long has he been this way?
He was delivered to me this way, Mr. Colton. Dropped off a westbound stage like a consignment of yard goods paid for by the pound. Not a mark on him. Not a mark, not a saber wound or a bullet hole or a scar from a mini ball. Nothing. Just this lump. I met him at a Boston cotillion. It was a whirlwind romance. We were married 3 days later. We lived together as man and wife exactly 48 hours. And he rejoined his regiment. I was to meet him out here. And this is the end of the story. You were in the army, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Did you ever see anything like this before?
On occasion. Some wounds are too deep for a surgeon's scalpel, and they don't come with scars.
Oh, that's lyrical, Mr. Colton. Marvelous conversation for a Boston drawing room. But listening to it out here, anchored in this filthy place with this mindless man, without so much as a hope left.
Why don't you whip him a little, Mrs. Phelps? I don't think he's been punished enough. With your permission, Mrs. Phelps, I'd like to stay on here a while.
For how long?
Oh, long enough to mend some of your fencing, clear off the land a bit, plant some seeds.
I'm indebted.
That's what you pay the $20 a month for. Where do I bed down?
That room over there. I'll get some supper started.
I'll get my things.
Blue.
Yes, Colonel, yes. Blue. The Union Army.
Mr. Colton?
Yes, ma'am.
You washed?
I'm the cleanest farmhand in Kansas.
Is the colonel still outside?
Mm-hmm. Still on the porch.
It's getting chilly.
Put a blanket around him. He likes it out there.
You can tell, huh?
We have much in common, your husband and I.
Much in common.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to hear what you have in common. I really would.
Well, for one thing, we both had our stomachs full of war. And as a result, your husband can't walk, and I can't stop running. Men react differently, and the scars are different. The disabilities are different. It's 2,000 miles from here to Appomattox, and 4 years since the first bull run, but none of it is more than a moment away. Or farther than across the room.
I keep underrating you, Mr. Colton. It's a weakness of mine, I guess, to underrate. And at the same time, to expect too much. I guess I'm looking for a miracle.
Mrs. Phelps, do you know how much hell a man has to go through to take away his speech and his strength? More hell, more misery, and more anguish than you ever knew existed. But with this man here, it never got through to his heart. He worships you and still feel love. I'd call that damn close to a miracle.
Whiskey? Point for it.
With the widow.
We were talking about you, Colton.
So I gathered.
We were just wondering how you were getting along with the widow. That's what we call her around here. Kind of convenient, though, ain't it? I mean, living right there with the colonel's lady without having to worry about the colonel.
You got a name?
Gibbons. Not that it matters very much to you. Nothing matters very much to you. You know, I got a feeling that you wouldn't draw the line on anything. Moving in with a poor dummy's wife sure doesn't suggest that you're very particular.
Oh, a little. A little particular who I drink with. If he's got a dirty mouth and he steps over the line into my business.
Now, gentlemen. There's no call for any fighting here. Gib here carries a joke a little far, Mr. Colton. But he didn't mean anything.
Sure, Mr. Colton, the doc's got it right. I didn't mean nothing personal. As a matter of fact, I'll even buy you a drink, huh? And then you can go home with your little widow.
The only thing you're going to do, Mr. Gibbons, is take your hand off my shoulder. If it's not off in 5 seconds, the good doctor over there will be making a sling for it.
This is kind of new to me, Mr. Colton. I've never been talked down to before by a maverick. I don't know whether to put a hole in your head or just mess up your face.
In point of fact, Mr. Gibbons, you're not fast enough for one and not man enough for the other. From now on, gentlemen, to my face, if you will. To my face.
Thank you. That's your work?
My pleasure.
Afternoon, Mrs. Phelps.
Doctor.
Mr. Colton, forgive me, sir. I know you don't admire people butting into your life, but it's Charlie Gibbons' nature to pay back his debts when it's dark and when a man's back is turned. Be careful, will you?
Obliged.
Mr. Colton,
Ma'am,
it's 10 o'clock.
maybe the colonel should go to bed, huh?
That's not why I pointed out the hour. It's been dark a long time. Do you hear anything?
No. No, I don't hear anything.
What are they doing?
Night crawling. They want me. They don't want you, your husband. I'll go outside and do the honors.
Why? There's no need. Can't you talk to them? Reason with them.
Where have you been, Mrs. Phelps? Talk and reason with the first casualties of the late war. Get him into the bedroom.
Colton, this is Gibbons. I'm here on business.
Stay there!
And come out in the light. Don't stay there sulking like some polecat.
John? John.
Hey, Colton, I'll give you a break. You come over here with your hands up and we won't kill you. Just work you over a little.
back inside, Colonel! Get back inside! Colonel! All right, then defend yourself. Here, use this. Pick up the gun. It's in front of you on the ground. Colonel!
Does it ever end? The killing? Does it ever end?
Sometimes. Sometimes you have to make it end.
Good morning, Mr. Colton.
Morning, Colonel.
Your hat, Mr. Colton.
There you go.
And your gun.
Thank you.
Appears that I'm quite a borrower. Do I own anything?
The courage it takes to walk in a rifle fire, you own that.
Well, I'm not sure that's courage. I think that's instinct. The same instinct that an animal has. To kill. I sometimes think that a man can die from killing as well as from being killed.
Which is one of the things that distinguishes him from an animal. Just that.
Mr. Colton! Mr. Colton, you haven't had your breakfast yet.
Oh, yes, I already had it. We had a long trip ahead of me today.
Trip where?
West, Colonel Phelps. Maybe Wyoming. Maybe Colorado.
You're welcome to stay here.
I appreciate that. But I'm no longer needed here. The man's returned. Good day, Mrs. Phelps.